One sec.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Juji. I'm here with Shira, Lee, and Kim. We are 4 friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Today, we are revisiting the book, The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Maté. I know, we've been nerding out about this for a few episodes now. But one of the reasons why I wanted to revisit this is because we've talked so much about the things that he highlights about trauma and about how we hold trauma in our bodies, in our psyches, how we respond to trauma. But chapter 28 of this book is really all about a very powerful self-inquiry in which we can start to notice these responses, these behaviors that we take on, and potentially journal through it or think through it or just bring awareness to it. I want to start with the question of, when did you say yes this week when a no wanted to be expressed? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. First of all, this book has changed my life. And anyone listening, I would highly recommend. We'll definitely put the link in the comments below, like just life-changing. When you think of trauma, childhood trauma, I think most people think of like being, sexually abused or beat or just, real violent trauma. But he expresses in this book that there's like big T's and little T's, and that everybody on this planet experiences small traumas all throughout their life as well. So we're all in this pool. And I mean, I've been personally on like a self-help journey right now, delving into all this past trauma, because my whole life, I've really been repressing a lot of the emotions that I've felt, burying myself in work so that I just am too busy to look it in the face. And I see that now. I fully see that now. And then all of these other traits that I'm learning I have, just putting my needs last, feeling responsible for others, not setting boundaries. There's all these traits that I'm bringing into my life. So when Juji, you told me about this book and we all started reading it and talked about having an episode about it, I literally, while I was reading it, my mind was so blown. I literally was just like, how do I freaking fix myself? Like, how do I fix this? What is the how here? And you were like, well, chapter 28, he, like you said, has this like compassionate inquiry. And it's really all about the baby steps, because this is deep shit. This is like, it goes so deep in your soul. It's so ingrained in you. You don't even probably know why you're acting in the ways that you're acting, or where it comes from, or what the connection is. So baby steps all the way. And this first question of his, where did you say, yes, where you wanted to say no, is just step number 1. And I have to tell you, when I asked myself that question this week, there was a good probably 5 things that I saw. One in particular was somebody in my field, my industry, I work in TV and film, had offered to teach me something. And I knew it was going to be like a 2-hour call. And I felt very honored and privileged that I could learn this thing for free. I didn't want to spend 2 hours of my time doing it. I just didn't. Right now I'm taking a bit of a break from work. So I just didn't want to spend that much time. But I was so like, well, who am I to not take this person up? This is their valuable time that they're offering to give to me for free. Who am I to say no to that? That would be fucked up. That would be rude. That would be disrespectful. That would be all these things. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice of you. Thank you. Yes. And also just having the human design element come in. I did not let it ride my emotional wave, which I have. I need to think on things. I just, I was, I was so, enamored by this offer and how nice it was. It was something I would do in a second. And the fact that someone else is doing this for me was like, holy shit, I can't say no. And I didn't even allow myself to think about it. Anyway, fast forward 3 hours later, 3 hours of my day. And who wants to be on a Zoom call for 3 hours? I just, looking back, I needed to say, not right now. It's just not the right time. I'll let you know when I'm ready. Thank you so much for that offer. And I didn't do that. And to look back and see that, I would have never have done that inquiry. I would have never have asked myself that question. I would have just beat myself up for not being more grateful. But seeing like, wow, I really wanted to say no to that. But all those feelings of not enoughness, the lack of worthiness, who am I to say no to this? This person's offering this to me. Yeah, well, I'm a human too, and I have feelings. And just because I feel I don't want to really do this right now, maybe in a few months, there's nothing wrong or bad about that. But I, somewhere in my subconscious, was like, you're wrong and bad for like not taking this person up on this amazing offer. And that really taught me something, I have to say. It really made me look at like, and that was one thing out of 5 things I noticed when I asked myself that question. So I didn't really sit with it that long either. If I sat with that question for like half an hour, I probably could have come up with more things. That was really eye-opening for me.
Wow.
It's fascinating that, we have an impulse to respond in certain ways. And that impulse is where, now that we are more aware of it and we get to lean in to some of that discomfort of like, wait, but I want to say no, but why am I not saying no? And obviously, and we'll dive more into some of these questions, but I wanted to go into and read a little excerpt from this chapter about compassion and compassionate inquiry, right? So when we do start to ask ourselves these questions, when we start to sit with this discomfort, Gabor Maté talks about compassion and doing it in a very compassionate way. But compassion, another thing he says about it is it's not a should. It's not like I should sit with the compassion now. It needs to come from a different way. So here's what I wanted to highlight here. And so it shouldn't be that way. It is far kinder and more effective to bring attention to the lack of self-compassion, to notice it, and to be curious about how it presents in one's life. Once seen, it softens. There's the key for me. Like once you see that, it softens, allowing one to investigate its long ago origins and present day impacts. So, again, and for me and for most of us, it kind of puts us on a path of examining what it was in the past that led us to be where we are today. And it's okay to examine that, and it's okay to be okay with that. It's not a forced compassion. And then, of course, when we dive into some of the questions that are presented here, that are so thought-provoking, they are so insightful, and they're also a little uncomfortable. But, doing them in the way that he recommends, which is obviously writing them down. And I have to, confess, I have not done this exercise yet, but I did read the chapter. And I absolutely, it's on my to-do list to do this, but I can, we already know from certain questions that it's going to provoke certain feelings. And I'm looking forward to diving in.
Yeah, I found this book to be absolutely life-changing, and like I'm a Gabor Maté fan, and I know his name has just come up like here and there and everywhere in the last few months. But I listened to the audiobook that's narrated by his son, Daniel Maté. Wow, like just I actually got confused at certain parts of the book because I was listening to the son, and I had to keep remembering that it's about the dad. I'm like, oh, the son's no, it's not him. He's narrating the book that the father wrote. So it's just,
Well, they
it was
wrote it
kind of-
together.
yeah, they wrote it together. Yes. And I've seen interviews with the two of them. They're absolutely amazing. I was thinking about the fact that when we don't do these inquiries, when we don't ask ourselves these difficult questions, it's like, it's going to catch up with us at some point. That's what I'm always so fascinated by the process of personal development and healing and awareness and all of that, because it's going to catch up with us either through mental health challenges, stress, anxiety, God forbid, a physical illness. Like, it will catch up with you. And that's a big part of what the book is about. So most of the book talks about the shit, like the trauma and the things that we went through and why we are the way we are. And then there's this part at the end that starts, I think it starts with actually chapter 28, where he starts talking about solutions and individual solutions and societal solutions. So I just wanted to read a couple of the, as long as we're reading some things. So the first question was, where did we say yes when we meant to say no? And then these are also simple also. The second question is, how does my inability to say no impact my life? Then we have, what bodily signals have I been overlooking? What symptoms have I been ignoring that could be warning signs were I to pay conscious attention? That's what made me think of that. What is the hidden story behind my inability to say no? I can totally, absolutely relate to that. Where did I learn these stories? And where have I ignored or denied the yes that wanted to be said? And when I think about my upbringing, there was a lot of passivity on my father's side, like things that were clearly wrong that he delusionally and magically thinking thought would get better. And that was absolutely something that not only was modeled for me, but then I ended up taking into my adulthood. Also having a challenging situation with my mom, who I felt wasn't really there for me emotionally. I just don't think she had the capacity. I think it was also abused out of her because she was brought up in a pretty mentally abusive home, and also somewhat physically abusive. So when you are compassionately able to do that, and you can just sort of say, just the facts, ma'am. I just want to look at the facts. I want to uncover the truth. No judgment, no shame, no blame. And then you start asking yourself these questions and really want to know the answer. That's when little intuitive things start arising in you and go, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is why this is happening. Oh, this is why I keep doing that. And then, we did a whole episode about asking powerful questions to others and also to ourselves. So it's been an incredible journey, this book. It's big.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a big book.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is so important is, like, first of all, he doesn't mince words. Every single word in this book is important.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
one of the things that Lee just read was, what are the long ago origins of these behaviors? Which is, again, like, you can put everything in, like bulk it out and be like, bad childhood. Oh my God, how powerful is it when you get really detailed about that one thing that sticks out for you that may seem, innocent enough, but actually had an incredibly powerful impact on you. And I think that the point of the lowercase t trauma work is to understand that just because you didn't have any physical bruises doesn't mean there wasn't a lot of really unhealthy stuff going on in the home. And I think that the term "it wasn't that bad" keeps us from really, like, picking apart those detailed things, because we don't believe that we are worthy of picking those things apart. Like, who am I to complain about something that's happened to me when so and so had it so much worse? Or when, like, you know, I always had food on the table. Like, yeah, my basic needs were being met, but as these complex creatures, we have much more than just basic needs. And we have much more that we need from our caregivers than just to feed us. And especially if their approach to it was, well, we fed you and you had clothes to wear and a roof over your head, then that should have been good enough. Then that already creates this baseline of like, oh yeah, no complaints here. But what's really important is the last question that you asked, Shira, is when did a yes want to be heard? And the way that I interpret that is, where are we selling ourselves short? Right? Where are we not wanting to be seen? Where are we not wanting to fully express ourselves and go after the things that we want? We only go after the things that we think we can get, or the things that we think we deserve, which is so small. There is a big wide world out there and people are doing things, and we look at them and we're like, oh, I wish I could. You know, that's when we don't say the yes to trying to go after those things, because we feel like our world becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller with each traumatic thing that happens, and it limits us to these very very safe bubbles that we create. And I think that the compassionate self-inquiry is about the baby steps that it takes to expand our capacity and our nervous system to be able to handle bigger and bigger bubbles, a wider range of truths, a wider range of emotions and behaviors based on those emotions. But you can't go from like this tiny bubble to like this expansive world overnight. And sometimes it takes what Kim's doing, stepping away from all of the things that keep us from being so busy that we don't look at those things. And I believe that it actually is exhausting. It is. It's very, very tiring to consistently be doing this nervous system work, this expansive capacity. Like, I sleep so much more now than I ever needed to in the past. And I don't think that that has anything to do with aging. I think it has to do with the fact that like my body needs more rest when I'm moving through these layers of holding more, of expansion, of all of those things.
Yeah, I agree, Shushi. And I think that the more work we do and the deeper we dig, whatever it is we're able to get over, you know, we're expanding a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. It's not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, and it's draining. It can be draining. And hopefully the end result will be very, you know, fulfilling. And I wanted to also comment about that last question of like, when are we not saying yes when we really want to? And this is where I think also for me, this might hold true a little bit more than the no's, but saying yes, I think, is where I feel like we also are kind of measuring our worthiness. You know, there are joys in life that we are depriving ourselves from. We are denying that to ourselves by not saying yes. And I think, again, and for me, it's like, who am I to get this? Or who am I to be, you know, that rich? Or who am I to have this man? Or who am I to have this amazing, you know, but, you know, it's our birthright to feel joy all the time. It's our birthright to live in bliss. These are things we should go after more and embrace and empower ourselves with saying the yeses as well to things we really want. So,
Amen, sister.
yeah, amen. Amen.
You know, it's so interesting. Like the word pain kept coming up for me while you were talking, Juji. I just know there are painful memories that my subconscious, that are in my subconscious or somewhere deep, that come out through my skin disease, psoriasis, and that I don't want to look at, that I'm not ready to look at, or I'm not ready to face, or I'm not ready to just state the facts about, or ask questions about, or, you know, like, I mean, I'm in that process now where I'm doing the 12-step program at ECA. So like, I'm sure a lot is going to become uncovered, but even listening to you speak, I can feel a knot in my stomach, like almost like there's stuff. And so I just wanted to acknowledge for anyone listening that this could be a very painful process, like learning about, like looking at what the answers are that come up for you could be really painful. You know, we naturally, like, we tend to beat ourselves up, you know, and make ourselves wrong, you know, for not saying yes when we want to say yes, or, you know, not saying no when, like, I think that's a very natural tendency. Just, damn, I really wanted to, why did I do that? You know, just and I really think with these questions and starting here, it's going to open up something really big that, you know, maybe we can really only handle in piecemeal, baby steps, a little at a time. And that's okay, because this journey is forever. It's not like, trust me, I really would love for, like, to be like, well, it's 2023. I'd really love to feel better in 2024. But I know that this is just forever. Like, you know, I know I'll be better in 2024. I know I'll feel more joy. I know I'll be setting more boundaries. I know I'll be more aware. But that's just part of the journey. And then maybe the next year will be even better. And the next year will be even better. So I don't know, just the word pain was coming up for me. Like, this is just painful for people.
Don't forget this to celebrate too, because we've all had such progress, you know, and in general, anyone who's doing any work on themselves, on self-development, self-growth, you know, there are so many little successes along the way that we cannot overlook, you know. So, you know, remember those. Remember where you were 6 months ago, a year ago, or 5 years ago. You know, whatever progress it is that you have made really deserves to be, you know, celebrated as well. I know we did an episode on that, but let's remember.
Yeah, I have to say that this the thing that's coming up for me, which is so me, is it's not that bad. This notion of it's not that bad is so fucked up because you just keep rationalizing and making excuses. Like, I can say I was a professional at that. Like, if they paid money to do that, I would be like top of my field. And really, at the end of the day, what's lacking in that whole equation is respecting yourself. It's like, no, it's not okay. It's just not okay. And I remember when I left my marriage, and I very intentionally took a year off. I'm like, I'm not meeting, I'm not dating, I'm not talking, just not doing it. I'm like, I need to heal. And the healing process, like you were saying, Kim, it's just like a lifelong process. But at some point, I knew when I would be ready. And it was at that point that I was very clear on what I want in a healthy relationship. And I just kept focusing on that and thinking about that and feeling about that and just, you know, digesting it and really getting clear. And that's what inquiry does. It just slowly brings you to clarity. And at some point, I was like, this is definitely happening. Like, I am so excited. And now when I meditate every day, one of the things that I say in my gratitude section is, thank you for letting me know this kind of love in my lifetime. That's what I say. And it's just, look, every relationship has its stuff, but when I think about the things that I am worthy of, I feel it. I feel it. And that really can be applied to every area of your life. You know, I deserve to have career success. I deserve to have, even if things didn't go well, you know, raising my children, there's always second chances. Like, I just believe in second chances. And this book is about giving yourself a second chance.
Can I just say one more thing?
No.
It's
The
the
word
no
is-
that wanted to be said.
Again, she said it. Don't hold back.
The worthiness part stands out to me. And I know I'm not alone here, but I think the journey I'm on right now is actually like discovering my worthiness. I don't think I fully feel it yet. I mean, there are things you can ask me and I'll be like, oh, I'm so worthy of that. And then there's things that I'm not so sure I'm worthy of that. But that's just obviously work that I still need to work to do, you know? And I think everybody has a lack of worthiness to some degree. And it's, I don't know, I definitely am still on my journey of like feeling worthy. And I feel it and I see it. And it's like, I feel like I could easily cry about it right now. Like, I'm just, Juji, I'm going to say it again. I'm 46 years old and I'm like on my journey of worthiness. Like, so I really look forward to feeling more worthy in my next 46 years. And I am going to shift my perspective about the age thing. Cause like, thank God that I see it and that I know it now. Cause I don't want to be 80 and all of a sudden be like, shit, I don't feel worthy. But I just, yeah, I think a lot of the fear and the people pleasing and all the things, it definitely all comes from a lack of worthiness for sure. But I'm just seeing it more clearly right now, listening to what you just said. I'm like, wow, I'm still finding my worth. I really am.
That's beautiful, Kim.
Well, it doesn't feel beautiful, but thanks.
No, it's just beautiful that you can share that and that
Yeah.
you're still looking for your work. Like,
And I feel the same for me. I mean, I don't
Me
know,
too.
to some extent, I think we all are. I mean, we all want to find our worth, our inner being, our, you know, our blissful place. It's
Peace. Like a
you're
peaceful
not on
place.
this journey alone, Kim.
Mhm.
And do you know how powerful it is that you are aware that that's something to cultivate within yourself instead of trying to go out into the world and being like, if I just made this much money, I would feel worthy. Like, that's why people are not satisfied when they reach a certain dollar amount or when they buy that house or when they have this relationship, because they're still looking for it outside of themselves. And the fact that we're even talking about how to cultivate it inside of yourself is in and of itself a fairly new concept in the world.
yeah, it's true.
You're on the cutting edge, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely feeling emotional right now. I'm like, wow. Yeah, because looking for it on the outside is something I did my whole life. That shit don't work.
Oh, so not.
Don't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
All
All right,
Well,
guys.
thank
I think
goodness,
this is
thank
a
goodness
good
I have
place to
some
wrap.
medicine. Thank goodness I have some medicine.
Oh, Carla.
The best medicine.
And also we have each other.
Quack, quack.
Bark, bark.
Well,
Like Juji said, this is a good place to wrap.
I think it is. If you've enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. Again, we will link the book, The Myth of Normal by Gabor Maté, in our show notes. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you soon. Ciao for now.